You're sitting in a completely normal place. Maybe it's your desk at work. Maybe it's the grocery store checkout line. Maybe it's your own living room on a Tuesday afternoon. Everything is fine. And then, without warning, your heart slams against your ribcage like it's trying to escape. The room tilts slightly to the left. Your hands start tingling, then go completely numb. Your chest tightens like someone's wrapped a steel band around your lungs. And somewhere in the back of your rapidly spiraling mind, one thought screams louder than everything else. Am I dying? This is a panic attack, and we're about to walk through exactly what's happening inside your body when this cascade begins, stage by biological stage, until you understand why something that feels like death is actually your body trying desperately to save your life. It starts in a place you can't see and didn't choose to activate. Deep in your brain, buried beneath the rational thinking parts, sits a tiny structure called the amygdala. It's about the size of an almond, and its entire job is to detect danger. Think of it as your internal smoke detector, constantly scanning your environment, your thoughts, your body's signals, looking for threats. Most of the time, it does this quietly in the background. You don't notice it working, but sometimes, for reasons that aren't always clear, it detects something it interprets as danger. Maybe it's a thought that brushed against an old fear. Maybe it's a physical sensation, your heart beating slightly faster because you had too much coffee. Maybe it's a memory you didn't consciously recall. Or maybe it's absolutely nothing identifiable at all. Just a glitch in the system, a false positive. Here's the problem. Your amygdala doesn't investigate. It doesn't pause to ask questions or gather more evidence. It just reacts. And once it decides there's a threat, it hits the emergency alarm, hard. The signal goes out instantly. Danger detected. Activate all defense systems. And once that button is pressed, there's no stopping what comes next. Your brain sends an emergency broadcast to your adrenal glands, two small organs sitting on top of your kidneys. The message is simple and urgent. Release everything. Within seconds, adrenaline floods your bloodstream. This is the same chemical response your body would trigger if you were facing an actual attacker, a speeding car about to hit you, a genuine life or death situation. Your body cannot tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. To your nervous system, the danger is real, immediate, and catastrophic. The adrenaline doesn't trickle in slowly. It arrives like a bomb going off in your bloodstream. Your heart rate, which was maybe sitting comfortably at 70 beats per minute, suddenly jumps to 120, then 130, then 150 beats per minute in less than 60 seconds. Your cardiovascular system goes into emergency mode. Blood flow gets redirected away from your digestive system and your extremities, the parts of you that aren't essential for immediate survival, and floods into your major muscle groups, your legs and arms, preparing you to fight or run. This is why your hands and feet go numb or start tingling. They're not getting the circulation they normally would. Your pupils dilate, widening to let in more light, giving you tunnel vision focused on the perceived threat. Your breathing rate increases, pulling in more oxygen to fuel the muscles that are supposedly about to sprint for your life. Every system in your body is now operating under one assumption. You are in mortal danger, and you need maximum physical capacity right now. But here's the cruel reality. You're not running. You're not fighting. You're sitting still, and your body doesn't care. It's already committed to the response. The accelerated breathing was supposed to help you. Your body assumed you'd need extra oxygen for the physical exertion of escaping danger. But you're not moving. You're just sitting there, chest heaving, pulling in breath after breath after breath. And because you're not actually using that oxygen, you start breathing out too much carbon dioxide. Under normal circumstances, your blood maintains a careful balance between oxygen and CO2. But now, with CO2 levels dropping rapidly, your blood chemistry shifts. It becomes too alkaline, a condition called respiratory alkalosis. The effects hit fast. Your head starts feeling light, disconnected, like you're floating slightly above your body. The dizziness intensifies. The tingling in your fingers and toes gets worse, spreading to your lips, creating a pins and needles sensation that feels profoundly wrong. And here's the terrible irony. You feel like you can't get enough air, even though you're hyperventilating. Even though you're taking in more oxygen than your body can use, your brain interprets the strange sensations as suffocation. So you try to breathe deeper, faster, gasping for air that you're already getting too much of. Every attempt to catch your breath makes the problem worse. The chemistry spirals further out of balance, and your brain, receiving increasingly alarming signals from your body, decides things are even more dangerous than it initially thought. But your body isn't done yet. It's just getting started. Your brain is now receiving a flood of feedback from your body. Heart racing at 150 beats per minute, breathing rapid and shallow at 35 breaths per minute, when normal is 12 to 16. Blood pressure spiking, hands numb, vision narrowing, chest tight, dizziness, and your brain, trying to make sense of this data, reaches a conclusion. Something is seriously, catastrophically wrong. This is where the psychological symptoms begin to layer on top of the physical ones, creating a feedback loop that spirals out of control. You experience what's called derealization, where the world around you suddenly feels fake, distant, like you're watching everything through a thick pane of glass or living inside a dream. Or depersonalization, where you feel disconnected from your own body, like you're observing yourself from the outside, a passenger in a vehicle you no longer control. And underneath all of it, a sense of impending doom settles over you like a weight. Not just fear, not just anxiety, an unshakable conviction that something terrible is about to happen, that you're dying, that you're having a heart attack, that you're losing your mind and will never get it back. Here's what's happening in your brain during this moment. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thinking, logical analysis, talking yourself down from panic, is essentially offline. Studies using brain imaging during panic attacks show that this region goes dark, while the amygdala and other fear centers light up like a wildfire. You literally cannot think your way out of this. The hardware for rational thought isn't functioning. You're running entirely on your brain's emergency survival programming, and that programming has one message: react now, think later. The physical symptoms feed the fear. The fear triggers more adrenaline. More adrenaline intensifies the physical symptoms. The cycle accelerates. And here's where it gets worse. Your body has one more response it hasn't deployed yet. All systems reach maximum activation around the 10-minute mark. Though it feels like it's been hours, your heart is pounding at 140 to 160 beats per minute, a rate that feels unsustainable, like your chest might actually explode. You're taking 30 to 40 breaths per minute, gasping, heaving, convinced you're suffocating even though your blood oxygen levels are fine. Your blood pressure has spiked. Sweat pours from your skin in cold waves, drenching your shirt even though you're not hot. Your chest feels like someone is standing on it. A crushing pressure that makes every breath a conscious effort. The pain is real, sharp, terrifying. It feels exactly like what you imagine a heart attack would feel like. And in this moment, convinced you're dying, you need to understand something. All of this, every single symptom, is not medically dangerous. Your heart is designed to handle this. Marathon runners sustain similar heart rates for hours without incident. The chest pain you're feeling isn't your heart failing. It's muscle tension, your intercostal muscles between your ribs contracting from the hyperventilation and the stress. The breathlessness isn't oxygen deprivation. It's a chemistry problem. Your blood too alkaline from blowing off too much CO2. You are not having a heart attack. You are not dying. You are not losing your mind. But your body doesn't know that. Your body thinks it's saving your life. At some point, usually between 10 and 20 minutes, something shifts. Your prefrontal cortex begins to come back online. The rational part of your brain starts sending signals to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's built-in brake pedal. This system releases a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, essentially the opposite of adrenaline, and stimulates the vagus nerve, a long nerve that runs from your brain down through your chest and abdomen, controlling your heart rate, breathing, and digestion. The vagus nerve starts sending calming signals. Your heart rate begins to decrease, slowly at first, dropping from 150 to 130, then 110, then gradually back toward normal. Your breathing slows and deepens. The tight, shallow gasps give way to longer, fuller breaths. Blood flow returns to your extremities. The tingling fades. The tunnel vision opens back up. The crushing chest pressure releases as your muscles finally relax. The cascade reverses, piece by piece, system by system, until your body returns to baseline. Most panic attacks peak around 10 minutes and fully resolve within 20 to 30 minutes. And then comes the aftermath. You're exhausted, completely, utterly drained. You've just put your body through a physiological marathon while sitting perfectly still. Every muscle is sore. You feel emotionally numb, hollowed out, like someone scooped out your insides and left you empty. This is the crash, the hangover from the adrenaline flood, your body's reserves depleted from the false emergency. You might feel shaky for hours, you might need to sleep, and you'll remember every second of what just happened. But here's the worst part that nobody talks about. After your first panic attack, your brain learns something dangerous. This can happen anywhere, anytime, without warning. You develop what's called anticipatory anxiety, a constant low-level fear of the next attack. You start scanning your body for warning signs. A slightly faster heartbeat makes you tense. A moment of dizziness sends alarm bells ringing. You avoid places or situations where you had an attack before, trying to prevent it from happening again. And here's the cruel irony. The fear of having a panic attack is one of the most common triggers for having another panic attack. The thing you're most afraid of is the thing your fear is most likely to cause. Almost 1/3 of people will experience at least one panic attack in their lifetime, but only about 5% develop panic disorder, recurring attacks that change their behavior and limit their life. The difference isn't in the severity of the attacks, it's in what happens after. But here's what you need to understand. You can interrupt this cascade. Once you know what's happening biologically, you can intervene at specific points and stop the spiral before it reaches peak crisis. When you feel the first signs, the heart rate starting to climb, the breathing getting shallow, you have a narrow window. The most effective immediate technique is controlled breathing, specifically the 4-7-8 method. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold that breath for 7 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 8 seconds. Repeat. This isn't just a distraction, it's a direct intervention in your body chemistry. The extended exhale forces CO2 levels back to normal, which signals your nervous system to deactivate the sympathetic response. The hold gives your body time to process the oxygen you're taking in. It physically interrupts the hyperventilation cycle before it can spiral. Another technique is grounding, pulling your awareness out of your spiraling thoughts and back into the present moment. The 5-4-3-2-1 method works like this. Identify 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This forces your prefrontal cortex to engage, to focus on sensory input instead of catastrophic predictions. It redirects your brain's processing power away from the panic and toward concrete, present reality. And perhaps the most powerful intervention is acceptance, which sounds counterintuitive, but breaks the fear feeds fear loop. Instead of fighting the sensations, instead of thinking, "This is terrible, I need to make it stop," you acknowledge them. This is uncomfortable, but not dangerous. I've survived this before. It will pass. You're not giving up. You're refusing to add fear of the panic to the panic itself. You're stepping out of the feedback loop. For long-term prevention, cognitive behavioral therapy has about a 70 to 80% response rate for panic disorder. It helps you identify triggers, recognize distorted thoughts, and reframe your interpretation of physical sensations. Exposure therapy involves deliberately triggering mild symptoms in a safe, controlled environment to desensitize your brain's fear response, teaching it that rapid heartbeat or shallow breathing doesn't mean danger. Medication, specifically certain antidepressants, can help regulate the baseline anxiety that makes panic attacks more likely, though they come with side effects and aren't necessary for everyone. And lifestyle factors matter more than people realize. Chronic sleep deprivation lowers your threshold for panic. Excessive caffeine mimics the physical sensations of an attack and can trigger one. Regular exercise reduces baseline stress hormones and trains your body to tolerate elevated heart rates without interpreting them as threats. These aren't just wellness tips. They're biological interventions that change your body's reactivity. Your body's panic response evolved to save you from real danger, from predators, from physical threats that required immediate action. The problem is, it can't tell the difference between a lion in the grass and a thought in your head. It's an alarm system designed for a world that no longer exists, and sometimes it goes off when there's no fire. But once you understand the biology, once you know that what feels like a heart attack is actually muscle tension, that what feels like suffocation is actually too much oxygen, that what feels like dying is actually your body trying to protect you, you take away some of its power. You're not broken. Your system isn't defective. Your alarm is just overly sensitive, responding to threats that aren't there. And with the right tools, you can turn down the volume. If this helped you understand what's actually happening during a panic attack, hit the like button. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had one? What did it feel like to you? And if someone you know deals with these, share this video with them. Understanding the biology makes it less scary. Next time, we're looking at what happens to your body during chronic anxiety disorder over months and years, how sustained stress rewires your brain and breaks down your systems in ways you don't see coming. You won't want to miss. Put it.